From God's Unchanging Word Studios in New Orleans, we are pleased to bring you news, nuggets, and insights with today's host, Tom Carey.
Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to God's Unchanging Word in another edition for our news, nuggets, and insights. Today is Friday, June 11th, 2021. And as always, we have got a really busy program for you. Our focus this week is a new low in crime in New Orleans. No, not in numbers, in the crime itself. We'll talk about that. In fact, we're going to talk about a couple of crimes in New Orleans. Gas prices reaching their 7-year high. We talked about there was warning that this was coming. And we're in the middle of Gay Pride Month. And who's the leader? Our government. Absolutely. Then we're going to talk about the elect. Who are they? I'm going to take it on a journey today and try to explain who we are, but better yet, how do we share that information with the loved ones around us or our friends? All right, let's get right into the program. I'm going to begin with an ad. This is a commercial spot for next week for News, Nuggets, and Insights. Really, really important. I didn't want to let this information that I'm about to tell you right now get away because it was so important that I need a little bit more time to lay a foundation of how I want to present that to you. The coming of the beast power of Revelation. So we all know that we've been talking about the beast power and how it's going to rise up at the end time. There's a lot of information in the Old Testament that tells us when this is going to take place. So I'm going to ask a question here. Did President Biden just propose the beginning of America's own destruction and the foundation for the rise of the beast of Revelation? What I'm going to share with you next week, and that's why I'm telling you this from the very beginning, because I didn't want this to get away from you, so you can put it on your calendar to be prepared and watch for, is that I believe that this could possibly be here, the next step in biblical fulfillment of bringing about the destruction for this world. And it's coming right here from our own government. All right, I wanted to share that with you today. So now, let's get into the program itself. The U.S. says ransomware attack on the meat packer JBS is likely from Russia. You've probably heard most of this already, but I wanted to bring it out because I'm going to tie it in, tie it into the oil and the problems we have today. All right, the world's largest meat packer said on Tuesday night that it had made significant progress in resolving the cyber attack. The significant resolving is paying off the people who are doing it. Basically, that's what's being done. And as I'm going to bring in just a little bit later in the program, they've evidently found a way to track the money transfer and got a lot of that money back, which is a good sign, and may actually slow down some of these ransomwares. All right, so let me back that up just 1 second. The vast majority of the company's beef, pork, poultry, and prepared food plants was reopening on Wednesday. I know it's a little late in bringing this to you, but the information here is what's important is how it's affecting the global transition of how we live, that this is going on and is becoming more and more of a problem. The big problem now is they focus on what happened here and upon the oil that happened here in America, is that they have the capabilities of being able to shut down the infrastructure in America, and including our lighting system, our electrical power grid. And it's really a big concern around the world. All right, so let's now get into the rest of the program. The Vatican urges Buddhists and Christians to a culture of care and solidarity. In this Pope's mission to unify the entire world, he started with the Christians here in America, and then he went to the Muslims, now he's with the Buddhists. Pope Francis praises the Buddhist brothers and sisters. The Vatican's Pontifical Council for the Interreligious Dialogue makes the invitation in a message released on Wednesday on the occasion of the Buddhist festival of Feshka. What is that? Well, it's basically the birth of Buddha. It's actually really, if you're technical, the birth of enlightenment of Buddha. But anyway, they call it the birth of Buddha. Many Buddhists across the world are making the feast of Vaska on May 26. Now, here's a way of just continuing to pull in all the gods of the world into removing the true God and having a world humanist concept. And this Pope is pushing the entire process. Going on. Abortion. There's a new abortion case going to the Supreme Court. Following the announcement last month that the U.S. Supreme Court would be taking up the first significant abortion case in many years, the Susan B. Anthony list of pro-life advocacy group announced it was launching a $2 million television ad campaign to promote pro-life. They began a campaign about a month ago, and they're going to spend $2 million on it. That came with rejection from the media. CBS and Hallmark. Can you imagine Hallmark? I'm just looking at our group here because, remember Hallmark used to be the Family Channel? And Hallmark reject the pro-life ad, call it unacceptable and not a positive experience. Yeah, saving a baby's life is definitely not a positive experience. The ad, which features zero graphic footage, there's no graphics in it. There's nothing gruesome or grotesque or anything about it. There's no graphic footage, has been rejected by multiple TV networks as too controversial and unacceptable, with at least one channel claiming that the ad is just not the positive experience it wants to give its viewers, according to the Daily Wire. Disgusting. Got a little 30-second video of that commercial. Let's play that commercial, Joe.
5 decades of medical breakthroughs. Every age group has more opportunity to live. Except one. The unborn still fall victim to outdated laws. Science tells us that at 15 weeks, these babies have formed faces. They smile, they yawn, they feel pain. It's why European countries ban late-term abortions. In 5 decades, we've learned they are just like us. Isn't it time the law reflects the science?
Unacceptable. Can you believe that? The networks are saying to you that that is unacceptable. Well, why we just disagree with just the late time abortion? We agree with the abortion, disagree with all of it. So, unbelievable what the media, Satan says he is the God or the power of the air, and he does control the airwaves. All right, now, another of you can't make this stuff up. This is kind of interesting. I'm talking about God removing a sound mind. Well, here's a farmer who's suing the government that they determine his farm is a wetland. Can't farm on the wetlands because that's hurting the environment. I got a picture of the wetland. Let's see if we can bring that up just a second. The farmer sues after being ordered not to work his farm. See that puddle? I'm not making this up. All right, let's be realistic. Let's be fair to the government. See all this brown spot? That's where it used to be wet. That's the wetland. Can't farm that. Shut him down. South Dakota farmer is suing the federal government after its agriculture department ordered him not to farm his farm. It seems that Washington bureaucrats have determined that a mud puddle in one of his fields is a protected wetland. Unbelievable. But God says he's going to remove the wisdom of the wise, and you'll be sick from the head to our toe. But anybody could look at this and call this a wetland. It's got a real problem. Got a real problem. But see, that's the problem. The government is pretty much running everything. And it is expanding. A $6 trillion budget beginning next year is on the table right now, which is planned for the next 10 years. They anticipate that the budget, if it's continued to carry out like it is, in 10 years is going to spend $69 trillion. Not to say we only take in between 4 and 4.2 trillion. So we just continue to promote for the next 10 years the continued deterioration of our nation in producing dollars that don't exist. All right, let's talk about this new low crime. This is a new low for crime. We're not talking about numbers here. I want to be very clear about that in New Orleans. We talk about crime around the rest of the country, and a couple of things came up this past weekend, and right here in the city, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. This came in, this was an opinion from Newell Norman. For those who may not know Newell Norman, especially our viewers here, he used to be the sheriff here in Metairie, which is the parish right next to New Orleans, and he was the backup to Harry Lee for about 30 years. And he retired and went on as a talk show. And he's reporting as a harrowing call from a person about a robbery at a funeral. You're burying someone who's dead, and they're going to rob you at the funeral site. That's what this is. It says at the present time, the violent crime rate in New Orleans is significantly up in every category. This was the comments that came in. It was a private funeral for a cousin of mine, the person said. and we told her we'd take care of everything. Her cremated remains were sitting in front of the tomb, and a priest come and blessed everything. When he leaves, then it's me, my wife, my brother-in-law, and a caretaker. Guess what pops up on both sides of the tomb? They told us, leave your wallets and your jewelry. And they said, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding you. So when everybody left, the robbers came from around the tomb, held them up by gunpoint, told them leave their belongings and leave. At a funeral. I mean, how many people think about that? As Newell Norman was saying, he's been in law enforcement for 30 to 40 years. He's never seen anything like it. And I just wanted to show you the ruthlessness and the carelessness of how people feel today, of how low they'll stoop to do things. Then, this is an amazing one. I ought to just throw this one in, you can't make this up. 9 shot in New Orleans East hours after the march against gun violence. They have a march to stop the gun violence, right? Just hours after that, a block away, 9 people were shot in the march by mothers of children who were shot. The mothers of children who were shot are now victims of this gunfight where 9 people are shot just hours away and 1 block away from the march. Unbelievable what's going on there. This is from the pastor who lived in the area, or actually was right by the shooting. This is from a pastor, Kenneth Foy of New Life Ministry. He says, I still trust God in knowing in the end he wins. But so many people will be devastated in between, he said. And he is so right. I mean, before Christ returns, what God predicts in his Bible is absolutely going to be horrendous. Again, that's in New Orleans. And by the way, when I looked at that map, that's just a few blocks away where I spent a few years of my life growing up. All right, so now, one more. Home invasion in New Orleans. Suspect picks up the wrong home to enter and ends up dead when he meets an armed homeowner. This guy was serious. So the guy goes in, tries to rob him, shoots him dead on the spot. Interesting, all of that right here in New Orleans. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, what's going on around the country. And this doesn't hold a candle to the bigger cities. But I just wanted to show you that even right here in our own hometown, nobody is immune. And that's why we all need to be able to focus on God's protection, his commandments, his law, and knowing that he will protect us in these times of evil, because it's getting bad all around the world. Crime is continuing to pick up. One more from You Can't Make This Up. And I thought I'd follow this through because I was dealing with some of the crime right here in New Orleans. Here's one: is you can't stop the crime, the rise in the crime. AOC's answer to the crime issue. Anybody get to hear this? This just came up. She's got a solution for resolving the rise in crime. Let me share this with you. This one, AOC's answer to reducing violent crime: stop building jails. I went through and looked and said, maybe they took her out of context, but they're not taking her out of context. She actually reinforced this several times in the interview. If we want to reduce violent crime, if we want to reduce the number of people in our jails, the answer is to stop building more of them. Yeah, that'll fix it. All you murderers and rapists and armed robbers, and yeah, we won't build any more crimes. You'll probably stop being a criminal. It says it's not acceptable for us to use jails as garbage bins for our human beings. You know, it's got a point though. Now I got to agree with you here. You see, you didn't have this problem in ancient Israel. God would put them to death. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. There was no long punishment. It was immediately. And God says, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to live with this crime and it's going to get worse. He says, this is what you do to put away the evil from among you. You don't coddle the criminal. You don't say, you poor criminal. What about the person who was just killed or murdered or raped? What about those people? What about the children who are abused in some sick mind of sexual abuse? You just, put them in a hospital? Well, that's the answer. Let's put them in hospitals. AOC's comments come amid a spike in violent crime in the city. Shooting incidents were up 76.5% in May compared to a year ago, according to the New York Police Department. Murder up 9%. This is just 1 month. Shooting incidents were up 76%, and shooting victims were up 71%. All of those were basically in the month of May. That's the percentage that had rose in just 1 month. They can't fix the problem by cuddling the evil. You cannot negotiate with evil. It does not work. God says when you see this, you address it, and you put the crime, you put the evil out of your society. All right, let's go take a look at the World Watch now. At home, right here in America, I want to talk about the gas prices reaching a 7-year high. When you see gas prices rise, you have to know that everything else is going to rise also, because everything centers around oil, all kinds of oil, for our homes, for the way we operate, for our schools, even the production of food. You know, they use the corn oil, the chemical they put into the gasoline from the corn. All of this continues to rise, and you're going to feel it in the pocket. So when President Biden said that he wasn't going to raise taxes on anybody making less than $400,000 a year, well, how about you? Are you paying more? You see, there's many ways that a tax is put upon the individual, and quite often inflation is just one of them, and poor management and poor judgment is another. And so we're seeing all that going on right now. We're losing oil dominance at home. For a brief period of time, the United States was self-sufficient. We didn't have to depend on the rest of the world. But in the time now where the environment change of the world, we're losing our dominance. That means we are going to become more dependent upon the other nations to supply our needs. And God says, when He is the head, you are the tail. You are subservient to what they tell you to do. And we're seeing that now in the domination now of China and Russia, and believe it or not, even little Iran, and how they're dominating our policy right here at home. Part of the problem, the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline was halted. This is where it all began, to cancel the permit. By the way, I'm pretty sure that this was the very first thing he did when he went and took office on the 20th in January. The first thing he did was to stop this pipeline. It's almost like the policies, and I'm not making this up. You go look at the policies. In the policies to reverse anything that the previous administration has done, it has to be stopped. It doesn't matter if it helps or hurts. It doesn't matter. It has to be stopped if the previous administration supported it or promoted it. It has to be eliminated. And unfortunately, this one here cost tens of thousands of jobs, cost millions and millions of dollars, has brought lawsuits from Canada and at least, I think, 13 states now who are suffering because of this decision. So now, what happened? January 20th, the pipeline, the most studied infrastructure project in American history, was already under construction and had cleared countless legal and environmental hurdles. Despite that, despite all the research, for years, decades of research that they can do this and not affect the world or the environment, stopped it anyway. On the spot. The second thing to help bring up the oil we're seeing is the contradiction of policy. So even though it's not good here, and it was the construction was underway, they were underway over in Russia and through Germany with their pipeline. Biden defends decision not to sanction the company building controversial Russia gas pipeline. But we can stop it here because we're under construction. They're under construction too. Well, they're further along than we are, so we can't stop them. Joe Biden on the Tuesday stood by his decision not to sanction the company in charge of building Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, characterizing the move as protecting relationships with Russian allies. Here's the pipeline and the way it works. Going through right from Russia into Germany. So now that pipeline is going to affect a lot of Europe's gas. It could affect them in a very negative way. That decision alone could help bring about a rise in a beast power. Everything this administration seems to do seems to push further to the fulfillment or the beginning of the fulfillment of the book of Revelation. Biden suspends drilling leases now in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in Alaska. The people up there are furious because they can deal with this and still keep the environment safe. Some of the richest oil supplies on the planet are there. And he just shut them down, the entire region. So the White House National Climate Advisory, Gina McCarthy, said that the suspension of drilling marks an important step forward, fulfilling President Obama's promise to protect the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Well, it also stops the production of oil, even though they can keep the refuge like it's supposed to be and fix it. All of that was taken into account before they began to build it. This isn't like in the 30s and 40s where they just come in and just ramrod and destroy everything in its path. These people here are required, and they do, put things back to the way they should be. And that's what would have been done up here had they left them alone. So in these swift moves, that has showed that the oil control around the world has shifted, that the United States is no longer in control of its own destiny. We are going to be subservient to our people who are against us, the nations who are against us, in the future. All of these things are coming into play. And what is so amazing is that you could never imagine it happening so fast. This is absolutely amazing how fast these things are changing with the stroke of a pen. We no longer govern in America by legislature, by laws of Congress. It's one man, and it's been getting worse and worse for the last 20 years now, because we can't get along, that each president has to sign more executive orders to do his job or to destroy his people, whichever way you're looking at it. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Now, one more thing. Now, let's go back to the Colonial Pipeline. This was one more thing that brought about the price of oil. This is another one of the hijackings that took place. 45% of the fuel consumed in the East States was supplied by this pipeline. You know, it's amazing. Now, I want you to think about it. You can't drill in Alaska because it's going to hurt the environment. You can't drill in the middle of our country because it's going to hurt the environment. Did you ever hear of this pipeline before? Everybody shaking their head no. Nobody in the country even knew it was even there. How much did it infect our environment? It didn't. We didn't even know it was there, basically. But 45% of the country's oil was supplied through that pipeline. How much of the environment did it mess up? None. It was almost like it didn't exist. And so with these other pipelines. So everything they're telling you is smoke and mirrors. It isn't real. It's a divine purpose. Whose divine purpose? Satan's, to destroy the nation, bring about fulfillment of prophecy. The cyber attack on this pipeline, the Colonial Pipeline that was supplied 45% of the East, was hacked, causing shutdowns for gas for 17 states and lasted over a week. You probably remember that. They paid $4.4 million to release the hacking so that they can get this gas flowing. Just yesterday, though, this was on Monday, this came out, was good news. Most of the ransom was recovered. The majority of the $4.4 million cryptocurrency ransom payment in the Colonial Pipeline hack was recovered. Now, they haven't said yet how they did that, and they probably won't. It's just another way of them tracking down. So people who are in the cryptocurrency, they're getting into it because they said the government can't track where your money and what you do. Pay attention. They can. By the way, I don't know if you heard this. I wanted to bring this up. I'll bring it up when we get into the actual financial picture of America. Did you know of that $6 trillion that the Biden administration has taken $80 billion of the $6 trillion to hire 86,000, let me repeat that, 86,000 IRS auditors in 1 year. I'm not making that up either. $80 billion of that $6 trillion budget is to add 86 million auditors, 86,000 auditors. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, let's put this in context. Down on the border, they're having to release all these people into America because they don't have enough judges to go look at the cases. So if you're an illegal, you come into America and you're claiming asylum, you're assigned a paper that's going to give you a date at some time in the future. Right now, they're 5 years behind because they don't have enough judges to handle all the cases. But we can hire 86,000 auditors to go investigate tax fraud. Unbelievable. So the whole mindset of this nation is just totally upside down, where they could use that money maybe to help resolve some of the issues and the problems of the tens of thousands continue to flow into the United States. Just last month alone, they said that there were 40,000 gotaways. So they able to capture 170,000 people that came illegally into the United States last month. They said 40,000, or between 40 to 43,000, got away. And that's going on every month. 500,000 to 1 million people just into the United States. Well, unbelievable what's going on. There's no way to even keep up with all of this, what's going on. All right, let's move on. Memorial Day, gas prices in the highest in the 7 years could stay high all summer long. The average price of gas is the highest since 2014, $3.04 per gallon. You can pay more or less depending on where you live in the country. A lot of the difference of what you pay more or less is the taxes that your state adds to the price of gas. Many states just add tremendous amounts of gas. In a couple of states, the taxes are actually higher than the gas itself. And you'll see that. Look at the price here. I believe this is California, $4.79 a gallon. It's unbelievable. Labor shortages also increasing in demand for the lingering fallout from the cyber attack from the Colonial Pipeline are impacting the gas market. Even to this day, some of that's still going on right now. All right, so now, this is the price of gas. Look at last year. It was below $1.80, and I remember paying that. I said, wow, we can get below $1.50 pretty soon. And all of a sudden, the election came, everything turned around. But look at that chart. Between April of last year and April of this year, from March 28th, it went for over $1 in price. Then at the price of today's market that I just showed you, the price of gas on the average is $3.04. So it just continues to get bad. Now, last week I've noticed it come down just a little bit, but it's not going to retreat much because the price of oil by the barrel has been hovering between $69 to $70 a barrel. Back in last November, it was in the 40s, the very low 40s, tipping into the 30s. Just to give you an idea of what's going on, this is a gauge that actually affects your pocketbook because everybody has to have gas in their vehicles to get around and do their jobs or do their business. Now, this is probably the greatest blight at this particular time on society. Wow, how do you look at a picture? I mean, pull that picture up again, Joe. That's actually in Great Britain, but here in America, it's pretty much the same thing. When I saw this, I was taken back like I was just now. I was like, wow, look at this. Well, God says at the end time, He said, if He didn't cut time short, we're all going to be like Sodom, we're all going to be like Gomorrah. And it's hard to believe that this has been rising since 2015, 7 years almost. We're not even there to 2022 yet for 7 years. That this is going on this much all the way around the world. Even at the U.S. embassies, they're flying the gay flags for Pride Month. The U.S. Embassy in the Vatican flies the LGBT Pride flag for the month of June. On our embassies, where God has used the rainbow as a sign of His protection of His people, that He would never destroy. I'm going to show you that scripture in just a moment. That He would never destroy this planet again by a flood. And He uses the rainbow as a sign between Him and the people. Satan has taken that very sign and just put it out there is to mock God. And then our flagship for our nation, putting a flag like this, what about the embassy? What about the American flag? Why not just put the American flag up? It's our embassy. And this is on the Vatican. So even though the Vatican is torn between promoting and discrediting the LGBTQ movement, the United States didn't care. This is where we stand. We're pushing gay pride. And this is our Gay Pride Month. U.S. Embassy to the Holy See. This is from Pride Month with the hashtag with the Pride flag on display during the month of June. The U.S. Embassy to the Holy See tweeted Tuesday, the United States respects the dignity and equality of the LGBTQI plus people. What is I? I mean, it just keeps growing. The letters, pretty soon, why don't we just put the alphabet up there, A to Z, rights and human rights. The federal government is the one who's primarily pushing all of this. The White House is holding an LGBT Pride Month Champions of Change video challenge. And they're putting it out there. And believe it or not, this is coming from youth.gov. Pay attention to that right here, youth.gov. They're pushing everything they can to the children. They're taking our nation and destroying the minds of the children from before they ever get into school now. And now they're pushing new heroisms and being prideful and joyful. And you can be the person, if you push the envelope, you might have a chance to come to the White House. Take a look at this. To explore the stories of unsung heroes and local leaders who are leading our march towards a more perfect union. Unbelievable what's going on here. And we as a nation, in our church, are silent for the most part, not pushing this. No, they'll push abortion. But for some reason, Satan has them fearful of pushing this. And this is what God says it would be like Sodom and Gomorrah at the end time. The very issue God shows us is going to be the detriment of the nation. Besides all the rest, the churches are primarily silent, that you have to respect the right of that unit. Now, I put this other picture up. Let's pull that picture up here again, Jeff. Because now not only was there an I, there's also an A. It just keeps growing. Unbelievable. I and an A. I know there's a meaning behind it. I don't know what it is. I didn't even want to go look. It was just so disgusting. Doesn't make any difference. It's all evil. So I wanted to share that to you. Look what else they had. This came from the White House. In early June, you will have a chance to weigh in and help identify finalists that will be featured as the champions of change at an event at the White House. The champions of change. They're teaching our children, if you want to become a hero, you want to change the nation, you want to unify, you want to get us all one, this is the way you have to go. You have to go toward evil, which is going to bring out the destruction of their very nation. Which is quite interesting because you see, when I began this program today, I talked about what Biden just did of introducing a 15% global tax for all nations. Funding. You ever wonder who's going to pay for the rise of the beast? Well, I think we just got our start. 15% going to be supported and paid for. Once it's approved, it hasn't got there yet, but it will, because it's moving that way, by 190 nations. Doesn't tell us who's going to control the money, doesn't tell us how it's going to be spent, but it's going to be pretty much modified into its implementation through Europe. The rise of the beast. All right, I'm going to talk about that next week. All right, Trump and the Republican Party in 2016. In case people are out there still going back into politics and thinking that's going to work, and I know we should have never turned our nation over to the ungodly. We should have been involved from day one. We didn't. We're paying a price for it. But if you think that you can be a Republican and get away from this versus being a Democrat, let me show you this. Let's not forget 2016. The Republican Party accepted the gay community into their platform for the first time in 2016. In case you forgot. Again, I'm not attacking the person, but I am bringing about God is going to take issue with this. So you have to wonder, when we moved into this position, does that have anything to do with the election being changed and not protected in 2020? I believe in 2015, God put a sign out there for all of us to understand. When the United States voted to approve the gay marriage, God gave us a 7-year period of time to correct the sins of this nation. And in that time, there's been no revival of repentance against this type of lifestyle. It's only been in support and going on. In this tweet, it says, we celebrate the LGBT Pride Month, which recognizes the outstanding contributions of the LGBT people. And it just goes on and on and on. So now, I don't know what year that was. It didn't say it, I couldn't find it, but I know he was still in presidency at that time. Celebrating Gay Pride Month. As a nation goes, as the leadership goes, so goes a nation. We know that. So now, all of us who thinking that it's going to turn around if they get Trump back in office, you need to keep your focus in the Bible. There may be certain policies that might help our nation. It will not change the direction of the country if we do not cry aloud and spare not. And we need to get that in our heads. It's really important that we understand that. It's easy to try to like someone who agrees with policy, but it has to be done God's way, not ours. And I wanted to bring that out, and I wanted to show you that too, because see, the nation's changing again, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And no matter who changes, it might change the policy of how the nation works, and it might make it easier on us financially, or it might give us a different respect in the way the nations look at us. God says, unless you correct this issue, it will be like Sodom and Gomorrah. And because it's not, if we don't correct it, he says you have to destroy the world. And that's what's coming. Keep that in mind. We have to look at the way things God looks at, not the way we do. So now, going on. The American Family Association, and One News, a division of the American Family Association, here's a group actually are speaking out. And I wanted to share this with you. They speak out against the LGBTQ community, specifically Lego toy company, for targeting our children. This is a little video spot here that talks against what's going on and Lego. Let's bring that up. It's about 2 minutes long.
This 346-piece set includes a rainbow-colored background and figures of each color. There is even a purple drag queen figure, according to Matthew Ashton, the designer of the set. We're super excited to reveal our new set, Lego, Everyone is Awesome, the company tweeted May 20th. Because we celebrate every Lego builder. The set features a rainbow wall, plus black and brown, and the colors of the transgender flag, sky blue, white, and pink, Fox Business reported. The rainbow wall has 11 accompanying figures with a corresponding color. With the pro-LGBTQ toy being recommended for ages 18+, many critics are concerned about the actual contents inside the new product's box and its appropriateness for minors, but Ashton insists that it is for all. I wanted to create a simple little set with a powerful message of love, inclusivity, and acceptance, so here it is. Hashtag Lego love to you all, tweeted Ashton, who is also a Lego vice president of design. Ashton claims the set advocates tolerance but is also persistent that Lego be on board to build the LGBTQ agenda. That's what's been so important to me in getting this set out with a message that we can be really proud of, he added. It's apparent that even toy manufacturers are attempting to indoctrinate children by exposing them to the LGBTQ lifestyle. Why can't Lego let kids be kids instead of glamorizing a sinful lifestyle? Lego is confusing our innocent children by attempting to normalize this lifestyle choice, which is not only irresponsible but also dangerous to the well-being of our children. Toy manufacturers need to remain neutral and should avoid aiming to please a small percentage of customers while pushing away conservative customers. It is crystal clear that Lego is attempting to desensitize our youth, so my group, 1 Million Moms, believes it's urgent to warn parents of the company's agenda. One News Now covered this story recently. We have included the article here for additional information. One News Now is a division of American Family Association, the parent organization of 1 Million Moms. We must remain diligent and stand up for biblical values and truth. Scripture says multiple times that homosexuality is wrong, and God will not tolerate this sinful nature. Sign our petition urging Lego to stop the release of its Everyone is Awesome rainbow LGBTQ building set immediately. Monica Cole is the director of 1 Million Moms, a division of the American Family Association devoted to stopping the exploitation of our children, especially by the entertainment media.
At least one person, even in a gentle way, is talking about this is a sinful way of life. Anyway, if more people would speak up like this, maybe it would make a difference. Maybe make a difference. Now, let's go right from the time our children get up. Kellogg cereals. Kellogg launches the Gay Pride cereal that encourages buyers to choose the characters and their pronouns. This is amazing here. It's called All Together. Everything here is about division. You realize everything that's being taught right now is about division? Even in the children from their youth? You want to get everybody together? There's only one way to get them together, according to them, is you have to go through inclusive everyone, despite what God says. This is the new wear your stripes with pride, as Tony says, according to this. Right to our very youth. Now look at this box, this new box. Together with pride is on the left. On the right-hand side, on the side of the box, they got their pronouns, he, him, she, her, they, them. Add your own. All the different pronouns. At least they still have the he and she in there somewhere, where in other places they've already taken them out. How about Skittles? Talking about an abomination before God with the rainbow. Skittles during Pride only, this is the Pride only month, only one rainbow matters, they said, so we're giving up ours to support the LGBTQ plus community. So in other words, we're taking God's rainbow, we're giving it up, and we're going to support the evil. So in their Skittles, what they're doing is they're using the pride with the rainbow, but they're taking their Skittles and making them all one color. They're reversing everything. The guy says good's evil, evil's good. Well, even in the packaging and the way they're promoting their own Skittles. I was wondering what they would do. All right, Genesis 9, verses 11 through 16 says, I will establish my covenant with you, and neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of the flood, and neither shall there be any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Well, God's going to come back to destroy what's going on. It may not be by a flood, but he's going to rectify the problem that exists. And God said, this is a token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for a perpetual, should be a perpetual covenant through the generations. It says, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a token of a covenant between me and you. I'll tell you what, if God didn't make that covenant with the rainbow, what's going on now, I don't know that we'd be here now. But when he makes a covenant, he honors his own covenant. And so Satan knows that, so he just promotes that. Turns as Ezekiel says, they put their nose to the branch. And that's what's going on here, and just mock God every step of the way. Proverbs 22, verse 6 says, train up the child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So what do you think they're working so hard to grasp our kids before they ever hit in school about the lifestyle that they're supposed to live? No different than if you grew up in the Middle East hating Israel and America, thinking it's the proper to blow up innocent people and to kill and to shoot and murder and destroy, and thinking they're doing God a justice. Same way here. They're thinking they're doing God a justice with the rainbow and in being inclusive. That all of those who don't support that lifestyle, those are evil people, you and I. Look at Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, and you shall be no priest to me, God says. Seeing you have forgotten the law of God, I will also forget your children. Because we don't turn to God, our children are being turned over to the evil. And God says, because you don't listen, basically, there's nothing he can do. You have turned them over to the evil forces of this world. And that's a warning to this world, and we're looking at it taking place right before our very eyes. Now, let's take a look at this, Isaiah 1. I'm going to come into this Isaiah just a little bit later in our Nuggets portion too. Except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. Remember that happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? That's where we are today. You would think that the churches, that society itself would understand from this very word of God that unless God stops this, we're all going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. You remember what happened? Remember the story is found in Genesis. This is when Abraham asked the Lord, he said, will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? And remember the story? He said, what if there's 50 people there? The 50 righteous. Would you destroy the city for the righteous? And God says, no, I won't destroy the city for 50 if they're 50. And then he went from 40 to 30, all the way down to 10. Remember that story? In Genesis 18, verse 32, he says, O Lord, be not angry, and I will speak yet but this once more. Peradventure there be 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy the city for 10's sake. If there are just 10 righteous people in that city following God, he says, I won't destroy it. Now, God just told us in Isaiah, if not for the remnant, if not for you and I, and those that God's calling out of this world, if not for you and I, we would be like this. What is like this? I got a video here. It's only 2 minutes long. Let's play that video.
Jehovah said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were full of evil, licentiousness, rampant with murder, and indulgence in extravagant pleasures. They reached the point of clamoring against God, of fighting against Him, and raging His disposition.
Where are the men which came into you this night? Bring them out to us, that we may know them.
After the angels took Lot and his family out of the city, burning sulfur rained down from the sky. The raging fire lit up the heavens.
Hurry up!
My house!
Our lives are on the line. Who cares about the house?
I'm not afraid. Just one look. Just one look.
Sodom, Gomorrah, and all their residents were reduced to ashes, disappearing into the wrath of God.
Well, I don't know about you, but I tell you, I've seen a lot of depictions of Sodom and Gomorrah. But showing the fire and brimstone in the fashion they did here in just a 2-minute clip, that was unbelievable. And then, now keep in mind what you just saw. God says, listen, it wouldn't be for the remnant. It would be for a few people. 10 people in the city, 5 people, whatever God chooses today. Those remnant. God says He would destroy it just like that again. That's pretty scary when you think about it. No, He said He put a rainbow out there. He's not going to destroy it by flood. But man, look at this. Unbelievable. When you see the amount of that whole city just being wiped out, and that's what happened. That city, in the city of the plains, all wiped out. Just like unbelievable. That'll get you to sit back a little bit and think about what's going on. What about our family? What about our loved ones who are caught up in a lot of this? Is it important to bring this information to them? All right, I'm going to talk about that when we come back. We take a break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the elect. Who are they? But in the meantime, let's catch our breath. Just settle down a little bit. Take a look at this video. It's inspiring. It's called Taste and See, and I'll be right back. welcome back. All right, let's get into the rest of the program and talking about the elect. Exposing the elect. That was the name of a sermon that I just gave just last week. I'm going to do a part 2. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to go online and take a look at that. We're going to be sending out a lot of information about that, so you could write in and get that. But exposing the elect. Who are the elect? Let's talk about that now. The elect. When we talk to others or even family members about our beliefs, quite often we hear, how can we be right and everyone else wrong? I'm going to ask our crew here. Anybody ever hear that before? How can you be right and everybody else is wrong? Well, what I'm going to try to do today and next week and who knows in the future is I'm trying to find a way that we can take what we understand that God's given to us and share with others without being argumentative. And it's really hard. It's really hard because they want to argue with you thinking that they're right. So what I'm going to do today is how do you explain who we are? And how do you define that in a way that's not going to be offensive or controversial to others? Sometimes you can't, but maybe we can at least hit a few points that we might be able to. For example, the question was, how can we be right and everybody else wrong? The reality is that the argument point actually reinforces our beliefs, not disregard them as supposed. In other words, the very question supports our belief. In other words, everybody else can't be right because there's too many different beliefs. How could they all be right? So now let's take a look. Now we're going back to Isaiah again, what we used just earlier in the program, Isaiah 1. It talks about a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, the seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, and they're forsaken their God. The whole head is sick, the whole heart is faint. It says, the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it. Your country is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your land, your the strangers devoured in your presence. And God says, except the Lord of hosts had left us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah. And we saw in that video right before the break what that would be if there wouldn't be people that God has called at this time. There's a remnant, all right? So there's a remnant. But who are the elect? How do you distinguish the elect from those who go to church, who are faithful in their beliefs and going every Sunday, and they're faithful in keeping Christmas and Easter? How do you distinguish the difference between that and what we believe? How does Satan know and distinguish who they are? Now that's a starting point, because you see, Satan knows the difference. Satan doesn't go destroy those he already has. He goes after those that he can bring into his fold. Just like God talks about the lost sheep. Well, if God brings someone into his fold, that means that is now a lost sheep of Satan. And he goes after that person to bring them back into his fold. So who are they? There are literally thousands of different Christian churches around the world. The elect, who are they? Globally, there are more than 2 billion Christians, and they're separated into thousands of denominations. The Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Baptist, the Apostolic, the Methodist, and the list goes on and on and on. Estimations show that there are more than 200 Christian denominations in the U.S. and a staggering 45,000 globally, according to the Center of Study for Global Christianity. Even in our own Church of God community that began way back with the Worldwide Church of God, today there's approximately 500 different groups with different names scattered across the U.S. and around the globe. That's just in one Church of God community. Now, there is a dividing line. So what is the dividing line? Satan tells us who the dividing line is. You know, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Now, this is a chart that gives you an estimation of all the different groups and peoples and churches that they have. There are approximately 2.4 billion Christians. Of the Christians, 1.2 billion are Catholics, Catholics alone. So now if you look at that chart, pull that back up again. In the first 3, you have Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and Buddhism. So you'll see, look how many, that's the majority of the people on the face of the earth, because those are in billions, right? So 1.2 billion here are Catholics. How many Sabbath keepers? Now we began to break down. Why? Because they're trying to keep the commandments, all 10 of the commandments. between 2 and 3 million Sabbath keepers. Well, I said, wow, you didn't think there was that many, but there were. I mean, out of the billions, that's pretty small. But interesting, about 2 million of those are Seventh-day Adventists alone. That means less than 1 million people around the world are in that category that Satan is going to go after. Because you see, they not only keep the holy days, Sabbaths, but they keep the holy days at the same time. These are God's Sabbaths, if you see in Leviticus 23. So now, last week I had the sermon called Exposing the Elect, Satan's End Time Target. That's who Satan's going after. So if we want to know who they are, because see, Satan has separated the rest of the world. He doesn't have to go after them because he's already got those intact. When you have a pope who's supposed to be the leader of the largest Christian group movement in the world, where God says, have no other gods before me, go to a Buddhist community and begin to promote Buddhism and support for their group, just like you did Islam, you got a real problem. Satan knows that. So now he doesn't need to focus on them or Sunday keepers or Christmas keepers or Easter keepers. Because see, all of those days come out of pagan origins, never come from the Bible or Jesus Christ. So now, Revelation 12:17 tells us the target. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God, all 10 of them, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ, which keep the words of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ says, what I did, you do. He kept the holy days, he kept the Sabbath day, he kept all the commandments of God. So now, who are these people? Matthew 24:21. Then there'll be great tribulation, except those days should be shortened, that no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. So God's telling us that before the end time comes, just like with Sodom and Gomorrah, he's going to get in there, he's going to stop the destruction of this entire planet before it has to be destroyed because of the people that he has called out of this world, given his truth and his understanding, that Satan's going after to destroy. Satan knows them how? By the seal of God that has been placed on them. Look at 1 Corinthians 1:21 and 22. Now he which establishes you is Christ, and has anointed us is God, and has sealed us and given us the earnest or the down payment of his Spirit in our hearts. So who are they? Those are those that God has called out of this world, out of the mainstream Christianity religion in most cases, has called them to the truth and the understanding, who have accepted Jesus Christ, his plan of salvation, keeping his commandments and his holy days, and obey God, and through the repentance, the receiving the gift of his Holy Spirit, seals them so Satan cannot destroy them. Seals them. So Satan knows who they are because he goes after those people, and he can't, just like with Job. Until God removes the seal, Satan cannot do a thing to you. Going on. Speak then to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbath you shall keep, it is a sign between me and you. Now, as many people want to argue about the Sabbath being changed, just ask them a simple question. Did God give man a right to make up his own law of what's right and wrong? Pretty much they'll tell you no. So did God give man the right to change his Sabbath day? No. Ask him another question. Maybe this might help. Does the Pope have a right to make up his own laws against God? Pretty much everybody's going to tell you no, except maybe some hardline Catholics say he can do whatever he wants to do. Most people will say that he can't. If you can get him to agree that the Pope cannot change laws and make up his own laws, then you can go into this, because then you can tell them and show them that he did change the law from Saturday to Sunday in the worship. Revelation 12:17, we talked about that already, the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ. So now look at verse 7, in Matthew 7, verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits shall you know them. So Satan knows that too. So when God calls us out and you accept his way, you keep his laws, his commandments, and the testimony of Jesus Christ, which is, the Bible tells us, the spirit of prophecy, you are sealed. And Satan knows that you are sealed. And he watches and witnesses that by what? Your fruit. You cannot proclaim to be a Christian and obey God and disregard the law of God. It does not work. This understanding, just basic understanding now, begins to eliminate all those who are not God's. The understanding eliminates all peoples and faiths that do not accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. So the majority of the world now is out of the picture. Satan's already got them. They do not accept Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior. Exodus 31, we just read, eliminates all Christian faiths that do not observe the seventh-day Sabbath and his holy days. If you do not keep the seventh day, that was the sign between God and his people. If they're not keeping the seventh day Sabbath, as God says, they're not his people. Now Satan has that category moved out the picture also. Satan knows there's just one more insight that God has given to his elect. He has just telegraphed it in sight of the world that is totally unaware. Now that information is in that sermon exposing the elect. Hopefully I whet your appetite to go look for what that is. Go online and take a look at that sermon. It's a very important point of what's going on. And we're going to build on that, and we're going to magnify that point in part 2. So now, let's end up with this question. How does one become one of the elect? So if you're talking to a family member, and you've gotten to the point where they're not arguing, they're listening, they let you show you a scripture or two, and you got them thinking, the next question they might want, or you might introduce them to, is this one. How does one become the elect? Isn't that what we're trying to do? Didn't what we want to care all our people, the friends and loved ones, have them become part of the elect? I'm going to pick that up next week, talking about how does one become one of the elect. All right, let's begin to wrap it up today. June 11th, from the home office. Sermons in the mail last week. We Must Forgive by Steve Council. In a sermon I did a month or so ago, and the prophets, the story within a story. So if you're not on the mailing list, by all means, please get on them. And also in the mail last week was this quarterly that just went out. What is happening to America? Is history repeating itself? Another very powerful message I delivered just a couple of weeks ago. It's in the mail. If you want it, you can get it, or you don't have to wait. Go right online, and you can watch it, and you can download it right now. So you don't have to wait. All righty. Don't forget, next week, News Nuggets and Insights, the coming beast power of Revelation. And we're going to address the question, did President Biden just propose the beginning of America's own destruction? It's going to be a powerful piece. We'll probably need several times to talk about this because it brings in a whole lot of information about the possibility of the rise of the beast power. All right, there you have it. That's it for our program today. And as we do each and every week, we want to end our program with an upbeat video, and this one's called Washed Away, Hebrews 10:10. Take a look. I'll be right back to close our program. Welcome back. Well, that's it for our program today. I hope it was enlightening to you. You got a lot of information for it. We have a lot of work to do, and things are changing really, really fast. So we hope that you'll stay tuned every single week and have this email sent to your mailbox every single week. And don't forget, as we ask each and every week, share this with everyone you know. They're going to love you for it. So next week, God be with you. Looking forward to seeing you then.